Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Literature Review Workshop with Miss Lin Ching. Let's see what we have in the comments. Wow, that's, I see some very welcoming message.
It's great. Nice to read all the messages.
Wow, there's already some very good questions. Okay, so before we start, I want to introduce myself as well as Miss Lin Ching. My name is Dung. I'm from MD program and I'm from the second cohort, from the first cohort, second year. And for Miss Lin Ching, she is currently a faculty member of the Faculty of Arts and Science, and she is a counselor at Vind University. So if you have any problems regarding your personal life, mental health, or anything, just contact Miss Lian. Miss Lian also teaches Janet course, A Healthy Lifestyle. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So for today, she will present to you about literature review, and let's see what we have in this workshop. The mic is yours, Miss Lin.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening if you're live stream or if you are join us from other part of the world. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Lin Ching, as Ms. Zung has just introduced. I am currently lecturing at the Vind University Faculty of Arts and Science. My main topic or my main subject of lecture is healthy lifestyle. I also teach music appreciation as an elective course. And then soon I will introduce art appreciation as well. Now, with the literature review, I have done quite a number of research, and I have also done a couple of theses and dissertations. So the journey of my lit review is both exciting and painstaking too, sifting through all the different literatures, all different articles and book excerpts and chapters, and also lengthy books and different methods, different style of writing, and also a literature review also is based on the internet articles and news articles as well. So basically, I have reviewed, I would say, more than 2,000 or 3,000 articles and book chapters in my life, in my academic life, and I continue to. There is a need to continue to do a literature review as well for my current work and research. Well, I'd like to first, maybe if I could, if the team could turn into my slides, please. All right, okay. So we titled this literature review, How Do We Do It and How Do We Write It Properly? I think that today I will go through the outline of it, or the introduction, or the methods of writing a literature review. There will be another section or another workshop on how to use the library, both physical library to find books and articles, and also online library in another session. So I'm not going into too much of that. More so, what I'm doing today is to give you an overview of what is a literature review. I have already seen a couple of questions in the comment box, and we will get it. We'll get to it soon enough. About plagiarism, I think is a very valid question to be answered. Okay, next slide, please.
Very nice slide, Miss Lian. I think
you.
you can.
Okay,
you
I can do that.
the slide
Okay,
yourself
cool.
right
Yes.
now. Okay.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So the goal of the workshop today, well, there is a limitation to this platform, so we cannot actually break into groups of discussion, or we cannot actually write in. But let's go ahead with this and see how we can do that. So the goal of the workshop today is first to introduce the definition of the purpose, to understand the purpose and the basic requirements of an effective literature review or a review of literature. And then we are looking at how we can critically assess and think or read and write a literature review, and how to develop strategies for inventing or creating, how to organize, and how to draft a literature review. And then at the end of it, I'm going to give you some practical or some practice to for you to start thinking of how are you going to write the literature review based on the topic that you choose. Okay. Sorry. All right. So sorry. I think this is the wrong thing. Can I remove this and upload? Let me see.
Yes,
I think
that's fine, Miss Lee.
this is the wrong file. Can I remove this from the stream? Okay.
Yes, okay.
I
It's
will
already
upload.
removed.
Okay. I will upload another one. Can I send it to Zoom, please?
Yes, he's here.
Okay. Hold on. Sorry. Not sure why is coming up as that.
Oh, yeah, I think this is the right slide.
Hold on. I will send it again. Another one. Sorry, guys. Just 5 minutes. Sorry. It's just 1 minute. Um, just a technical issue.
Miss Lian, I think
Yes.
the correct slide is already up. Yeah, Zoom has
Okay. All
just
right. Okay. Okay. Cool.
yes.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So the purpose of okay, so the first one is the purpose of the literature review. So I think the literal meaning of literature review is to review all the literature or all the things that have been written before. So that's a literal meaning to it. And it is not just looking at the all the literature or all the articles that have been, all the books have been written on the narrow topic, but it's basically to critically look at the existing research that is significant to the work that you are carrying out. First is to provide background information, a context, to establish the importance of your topic. Let's say if you want to do a topic on obesity among the young people, all right, among youth. So what is you establish the importance of it, and you look at all the literature review or all the literature that have been done on this particular topic, to also demonstrate the familiarity of the topic, and to identify, and this is very important, is to identify the gap for further research. So what is why your topic is important now, and if your topic actually fill in the gap of the research that has been done. Okay, the next one, please. Yeah. So, what it really means is a critical recap of research that has been conducted on a specific and a narrow topic. Academic writings, and I think that since even high school, when you write um, your um, your essays, it's all about standing on the shoulders of giants. So, doing a lit review or doing a literature review would demonstrate your knowledge about the field or the subject that you are about to introduce to the readers. And without it, you would not know who the big guns are. I'm using the word big guns. That means that who are the players, who are the authors, who are the writers, who are the researchers that are famous or that popular or reliable in the field that you have chosen. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so the characteristics of an effective literature review. There are four characteristics of the effective literature reviews. First of all, is An effective literature review should show or should outline important research trends for the topic that you have chosen. Okay. Second is to assess the strengths and weakness of existing research. So not all the published research not all the published articles out there are considered uh, strong, all right, or considered reliable, or considered that's the only way. So you have to be able, your literature review has to be able to demonstrate or assess if the existing research, what is the strength and weakness of the existing research. Third one, and just now I did mention, is the gaps. Identify potential gaps in knowledge. What has been done and what you cannot find in the body of literature. And the last one is establish a need for current and or future research projects. So not just identify the gap, but you also discuss further what should be done in the future to fill in the gap. All right, thank you. Next slide. Okay, so before we going into the structure of a literature review, I would like to just talk a little bit about, first of all, the articles. I think I'm not going to talk much about the books for the moment, but we can also talking about the book and book chapters as well. But first of all is the review of articles. Okay, so on my table right now, I don't know if the camera can capture it, is all the articles that I actually printed a few years ago, and I carried them everywhere I go actually, and because at that time I didn't have the tools to highlight or the tools to mark what I have done or summarize it, so I had to print them out, and I feel it really hurts when I print, and I really think twice or three times before I print them out. And what I did was, just off track, what I did was not just only double sided, but I also make it a booklet so I can save on the paper. But what is the so if we can go back to the slide, the structure of the article. Okay, each article. This one is the title of this article is "New Guidance, Old Problems, Recent Developments in Sex Education." And this is in the Journal of Social Welfare and Family Law. It was in 2010. So a typical scholarly article, and we call it scholarly because it's written by researchers and already have, may or may not, but mostly already reviewed widely, okay, by different researchers. And so each of these article will have, first of all, an abstract, which is around here, and an introduction. And later on, after the introduction, this one has a very long introduction, is a method. Actually, this one is, yep, it has a method, and it has the result part and the discussion and a conclusion. And later on, the last part is reference. Okay, reference can be, this one in particular has about, I don't know, there's a lot of reference. So that's a typical. The one that I have just shown you is a qualitative article. So qualitative is when you carry out, basically when you carry out an interview with your participants. So the structure can be a little bit slightly different from the quantitative, which is a survey and questionnaire. So that's a typical scholarly article. Okay. Okay. The next one. So after the structure of the article, this is the journal articles. I'm talking a little bit about the literature review. Literature review, later on, I will show you a sample of my literature, one of my lit reviews. It has the introduction, so quick idea of the topic. it has the body, which is the discussion of the articles or several articles, and your recommendation. But so it's your literature review also have what you have drawn from the literature review so far. I let's see if I can share my previous literature review. Can I share screen? Okay, I can.
Yes, you can, Miss Lee.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I can share screen. Okay, let's see. Moment of truth. Okay. So this is my literature review. Let me see if I can. So on the screen, you can see that I have I have the I have my PhD, but in my literature review here, I have a lot of articles that I saved, and let me see if I can show you. There we go. Okay, so can you see it? Okay, can you see that? Okay, let's see literature review. Okay, so this is chapter 2 in my thesis. It's called literature review. So in literature review, my structure is that I structure it according to the topic that I want to. My title of this research is the provision of sexual health education to international students in New Zealand by the homestay parents, so not by their biological parents, but by their homestay parents. So I'm looking at literature review of who are the international high school students in New Zealand, what are their homestay experiences, and then
Miss Lee,
so on.
may I
Yes,
give a short notice? I think the document is not the one that you want to share. Is
okay,
it
no,
the
this,
Word
this is the
document?
one. Yes, this is the one.
Okay.
And yes, and then different, and so on. So my literature review is it's divided into different section. And can you put back the slide? Yes. And I discussed this section based on all the literature review that I have done, and then what I have drawn from the literature review so far and the recommendations. I'm looking at the gap in the literature review and why my study is actually important, or what is the contribution of my study. Okay, so the next one, please. I have to be mindful. Next slide, please, if you could. Okay. So the organization of a literature review is like a funnel. Okay. First of all, you look at the broader topic and then the subtopics, just like I did with my literature review, and then the studies like similar to yours. And why we choose the studies that similar to your to ours? Because let's say if I want to talk about chronic disorder or chronic diseases among 65 and above population, I would like to see if what kind of studies out there that have been done similar to mine, and what are the results or what are the recommendations from those studies, and whether or not my current study can contribute to the gap of knowledge. So this is how we find the studies like ours. Okay. All right. The next one. Okay, let's look at the steps for writing a literature review. I put there just a comic, and the question is, do you have an idea for your story yet? No, I'm waiting for inspiration, and the inspiration is last minute panic. So a lot of times that we try to do something last minute, and we think that we think that, oh, okay, we do it under pressure and that's great, but not for literature review. Literature review is a long process because you basically have to read the articles, maybe skim reading, or just looking at the main gist of it. But it is a long process because you will have to review all the literature that has been done, or if not almost. So we have to do planning and we have to do reading and researching. We have to analyze and we drafting and we have to revise the literature review. So depending on how big our research or how big or how broad our topic is, or how the scope of our topic is, we will do a literature review, long or short, based on that topic. Okay, the next one, please. Okay, so the planning part is what type of literature review am I writing? Okay, so we have the focus, what type of literature review I'm writing. Focus is what is the specific thesis, the problem, a research question that my literature review helps to define. And when you focus, you need to identify a focus that allows you to, you have to sort and categorize the information and eliminate irrelevant information. So we tend to be very greedy when we do a literature. Well, not we, I am very greedy in doing literature review because I think that everything is relevant. Every keyword, let's say obesity or youth or sexual health or sexuality among youth, for example, is relevant, and I tend to read everything. And if we read or we search for articles without a focus, it will take a lot of time and is unnecessary time wasted. Okay, so we always have to go back to our thesis, go back to our problem, our topic, and our research question, and we have to narrow it down so that our search can be focused. The type is, what type of literature review am I conducting? I'm not going to go into too much detail on this because yes, some people writing in the comment, I believe you're not alone about the greediness, the greed. Is We are doing it because we want to write a chapter about theory, about methodology, about policy. What kind of literature review that we are conducting? Is it a quantitative? Is it a qualitative? Or is it a combination? So we have the focus and we have the type. Okay, next one, please. So after we kind of craft the idea in our head or in our outline of our research, the literature review that we are planning to do, now we are going into finding an article and how we can read it critically. Now, before you read it critically, I wonder if you know how to read an article quickly. Let's say an article takes a lot, many pages, but let's say if you want to read it within 5 to 10 minutes, skim reading an article and find the keywords and find the way that you can find the ideas to make a case for you is very important. And my experience that I like to share with you, and I'm sure that that you guys also know how to do this, is okay. This one is a little bit too heavy. Is first of all you read the abstract, okay, and normally in the abstract it will have just about an abstract has is very short, and it has an introduction, a method. Within the abstract itself, it already gives you kind of information that you want to know. So read the abstract carefully, okay? And if you think that, okay, this is for me, then you go on and read the introduction, okay? The introduction, usually I would read the first paragraph and last paragraph of introduction. And before the introduction, if it is a qualitative research, this thing that I'm using here is mainly qualitative. You will read the section of it, the title of the each section. Okay, so you read the methodology. So methodology is not too important if you want to just take the content of the literature review for your research. But you read about the section of it and discussion and the result. So just the abstract is important. Introduction, first paragraph, last paragraph. The result, and also the discussion. Okay, and that's how you read really quickly an article. Now, when you read it with your critical mind, okay, and you ask these questions follows as follows. What were the research aims of the paper, of the article, or the book? Is the research aim achieved? If so, how did they do it? Are there any problems with their methodology? So when you are critically reading the articles, you just don't read it for the sake of reading and put them into your lit review chapter. You have to actually critically think about if this research is actually good, or it does it leave out any other issues that it didn't solve. Was it a strong or weak research model? Whether if qualitative is better or quantitative is better? How will this research help with your own research? What can you take from it, and what needs to be avoided, and what are you doing differently? Okay. All right. Next one, please. Okay, so how to organize the studies, or how organize the research articles that you have read? You can organize it based on the chronological, which is based on by date and by trend. You can also organize it by the theme, so thematic structure that considers different themes. And you can also organize the articles that you have read in the table based on the methods, if the methods are important to your research. So let's say, for example, my research is a social research. Okay, I refer back to most of my research on, let's say, communication or on sexuality or sexual health. I would really pay attention to the themes of the literature review. Chronological, okay, but I would like to look at more recent articles rather than articles, let's say, before 1995, okay? It's top of my head. And then with the methods, because let's say if I'm doing a qualitative research, interviewing participants and writing about them, about their opinions and the findings are from the interviews, rather than doing survey or questionnaire. I would also like to look at the qualitative research rather than quantitative. So that's an example of how you organize the studies. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so when you read and you research, and when you already have the plan, you already have how you critically think about before you read an article, how you actually going to critique it. Then we're going into how you read and research it. Okay. So when you collect and read the material, you would summarize who is the author and what is the author's main purpose. Now, the author, let's say if we are doing a research on youth behavior of, let's say, first year student transition from the transition between high school and university, their attitude and behavior. Let's say that's the topic. Okay, then you look for articles that have been done before. So we talk about youth behavior. You talk about transitioning between high school and university. You're talking about um, adolescent development, for example. So if you're talking about that, then there are several authors, or there are several players or big guns in the field that might have written dozens of articles over time on the same topic. So you have to sort out, okay, let's say this author seems to be writing a lot on this topic. Then we have to look at who is the writer, who is the writer's author's main purpose, what is her or his theoretical perspective or research methodology, who is the intended audience, what is the principal point, conclusion, thesis, contention, question, how is the author's position supported, and how does this, very important, how does this, going back to your topic, how does this study relate to other studies or problems or topic, and what does this study add to your project. And you only select relevant books and articles. Okay, don't be greedy. Okay, next one, please. I have, there are many ways of summarize your articles, and I think that it's very important that when you read something, you will have a notebook next to you. I tend to highlight the article and then write something next to it. This one I didn't really write a lot, but some of the articles I write a lot. And let's say this, for example, I write on top. But then after I do the notation, I also put it on the table. Okay, and I put there the author. So and let's look at this table on the slide. If you review, let's say, more than, I would say, 20 articles, or 15, you already kind of forget um, who the authors are and what they write, what did they write about. So it's very important that you actually have this table to summarize. So this is a sample by, I took this source from Google Scholar, one of the articles about literature review. So you have the author in one column. You have the sample, means that mm, uh, mm, sample means a sampling size, or sample means the participants who the target, and the title of the articles. The source means what kind of journal you took from, and very short findings, okay, or some kind of note that you write it there, or keywords that you write it there. I normally would put there keywords. I would put there something like this one is about loneliness. Okay, so I put there loneliness. Then I put there something. This one I put there sexual agency, sexual positioning, competing or contradictory discourses. You don't need to understand this. Or students' sexual positioning, or the way they think about sexuality. So I will put just keyword. I don't even need to write anything. And also you put there a note that you can use this for what kind of research that you do. Some students have 2-3 topics at the same time, even essays, right? So you're not talking about just a big project, but you're talking about even your subject essays, that you have to write. You have several topics, so you put there in that table. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so the analysis task of literature review, first of all, is how to summarize and synthesize these literature reviews all the articles that you have read. So the idea is, and this is somebody actually mentioned in the chat box that about plagiarism, is that when you write a literature review, you basically just really looking at all the articles that people have written and write down what these articles have said, right? But the literature review needs to be that in your own words, you have to summarize and synthesize the key findings relevant to your study. Now, I think that the task is really tough because you tend to rewrite what the author says and just paraphrasing them. But this is, you have to also inject your own critical words, own critical opinion about those articles that you have read. Okay. So when you summarize, pay attention to these points. What do we know about the area? What are the key arguments, key characteristics, key concepts, or key figures of those articles? What are the existing debates or theories that have been presented in those articles? And what are the common methodologies used? So in your literature review should actually demonstrate uh, this kind of summary. All right, next one, please. So some of the sample for language that use in summary and synthesis is like Professor Liang Putong has demonstrated, or early works by so and so was concerned with, or so and so compared so and so or deals with. So there are ways, there are like a vocabulary, and if you're really interested in this, I can also pass it on to you in if we have a platform somewhere, or if students within the university, if you'd like to contact me of the list of the way to write, because when you cite literature review, you keep writing, okay, this person says so and so, that person says so and so. So we kind of like run out of words to say. So we have a few few words that we can use, for example, according to so and so, or like on the screen now, you say that had demonstrated or argued or explained or mentioned. Those are the verbs that you can use when you cite articles. Okay, next one, please. See, within such a short notice, like a short presentation like this, literature review is like an ocean. So to navigate it is really hard. Just within one hour, I would love to have like a half a day. We do a workshop and then we sit down somewhere and you just actually write. So we have like a writing club, and we can just write a sample of literature review on the workshop, in the workshop as well. But anyway, let's just talk about go on. The analysis task of the literature review is the comparison and critique, and this is a very important thing because, for example, in my literature review, I think so, Prani. I think is we should have a writing retreat of some sort where students bring their own topic, and then we will do a workshop. Yep. Okay. All right. So comparison and critique is that we just don't just cite or we just don't say Mr. B saying so, or doctors I so say and so, but we actually have to evaluate the strength and weakness of their research work. So how do the different studies relate? What is new? What is different? Or what is controversial? So, for example, I'd like to talk about my topic, which is the topic of sexuality and sexual health among young people. So this is about teenagers and also about basically youth. And there are a lot of controversial arguments about whether or not when you introduce a sexual health program into a high school or into university, whether or not to discuss the element of pleasure in sexual activities. So when these kind of arguments appear in the body of literature review, we can also see whether or not it's relevant to our topic, and if it is, then we can talk about those kind of controversies. Okay. What view need further testing? What evidence is lacking? What evidence is inconclusive? A lot of quantitative trials, clinical trials, and a lot of studies that have inconclusive result. But however, inconclusive results can also shed some light to other things as well, especially for further development, further research in the future. All right. What is contradicting, what is too limited, and what research designs or methods seem unsatisfactory. Okay. All right. Next one, please. So when you do some evaluative or critical, we have a few words like, this is unusual. So these are just the vocabulary that you can use in the way that you write. Just like previously, I talked to you about how when you cite, there are some verbs, and these are the adjectives that you can also use. I will share with you some of these and also other verbs in if you had to build the vocabulary in your literature review when you write. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so this is putting it all together. So once you already planned and you have read and you critically read it. Okay. All right. So once you have summarized and synthesized or compared and critiqued your chosen material, you may consider whether these studies demonstrate the topic's chronological development or show different approaches to the problem, show an ongoing debate, and center on a seminal study or studies, and demonstrate a paradigm shift. Okay, so some Amita has put in, and I think this is a great question actually. Um, how do you differentiate between published research that is credible or not, and how do you decide if some work is worth citing? Okay, I depend on a lot on search engine to find credible research or articles. So in the search engine, especially if you, let's say, if you are at the Wien University and you use the search engine through the through the the library online, there would be or even the Google Scholar, there will be an option where you only want to review peer review articles. So with peer review articles, I would think that is a credible source, and usually I take them. However, in a lot of studies where you have to actually depend on news articles, and news articles are might be reliable, might be not reliable, but I would put there as for example I would put a disclaimer to in the way I write. So I would put like a warning that these sources are from those. I mean, these articles or these news articles are from those sources. Um, um, usually books chapters or books from a reputable publisher would be credible source. I also look at the authors and looking at their bio and where they come from and what articles that they have written and what journals that I had written. So looking at the journals and the index or the rating of the journal. So that's my way of citing literature. How do you decide if some work is worth citing? This is a very difficult question because in a literature review we might have missed important articles, and that's why sometimes I do subscribe to some of the search engines where if you put keywords of your if your of your I mean relevant keywords that you want to search for articles, every day or every other days they will send you a list of newly published articles or articles that they think that relevant to your topic. So actually it is a long process, and it took me for my project, it took me at least 1 year of ongoing literature reviewing of literature. So some of the worth citing, and I didn't know that it was worth citing, and that's why I have supervisors to actually alert me because they are better in terms of knowing the field, and they guide me through the whole process. How do you avoid literature search? Okay, maybe I can go back to the question a little bit later. I think this one is almost done. Okay, can you put the next slide? Okay. So I think the practice here, because I thought that we can break into group and we can practice. But anyway, this is sorry. Just go back to the last one, the previous one, and just yeah. Okay. So my I will leave some time for questions, and this is just something that to think about, okay, when you go home and after this section, is to practice writing a piece of literature review. So just no, just go back, please. That was the last slide. Yeah. So what you can do is at home after this in your spare time, or when you do your own essay for your next academic work or homework. Think about your topic. Think about all the planning and think about the structure that I have shared just now, okay, and look for 5 to 10 different articles, peer review articles. Start with Google Scholar first. You can also search them through our library website as well, and start thinking about how to write your literature review using those articles, okay, and think about the authors, and also work out your keywords and look at the arguments. Let's say if you choose 10 articles, look at the whether or not there is a consistent among those 10 articles. What are the main arguments of those 10 articles? And then write about those articles that the topic is relevant or similar to your study. Okay, so that's the take home practice. I would love to actually have this practice, but we would run out of time. So I prefer that we discuss and send in your question, please. So the next question, Amita, is how to avoid literature search paralysis. Paralysis. What do you mean by this question, please? Can you clarify this? And while we're waiting for Amita to clarify, we look at Shingis. I find library search engine less powerful than Google Scholar. Okay, yes. Some of the library search engine is I also prefer Google Scholar. Google Scholar has about, I don't know, millions, thousands of articles on it, and uh, the good thing is, in the next session when you have with Tony, our librarian, the guru of library, he will show us how Google articles actually link to our Win University library. So a good start is to start with the Google Scholar, and then from there, if you go further, you can also, let's say, if you are doing a medical research, you can use PubMed, for example, or if you're doing social research, you can do JSTOR. JSTOR, yeah, so those are the engine that you can use beside Google Scholar. But I rely a lot on Google Scholar, and over time, I mean, the first time that I used Google Scholar must have been probably close to 10 years ago, but now is developed and advanced so much that it provides a lot of tools for you to do your research. Okay, so let's clarify. I mean that sometimes one gets so wrapped up in literature review searching that it becomes difficult to move forward because I'm always worried that I did not capture everything. Yes. So this is about the greed. Again, we have to get back to our research questions, and go over to our research questions or our hypothesis, and see whether or not those articles are relevant or not. I also tend to do that. For example, for my theory chapter, I look into child development or child theory, the rights of children, for example. And so I kind of like being too greedy and looking so many, and I am afraid that I missed out on something, and that's why I need to have some kind of a limit to it. And I look at the research questions and the research outline. Okay, I think we are running out of time. Is it so? You want to say something?
Yeah, but we have time for one more question.
Okay,
I
one more.
think Miss Lin, at the beginning of our session, we have one question from Ivan. Do we care about plagiarism in a literature review? So do you want to answer this question?
Do we care about plagiarism in literature review? Yes, we do. We care about plagiarism in any kind of academic work that we do. And I mean, in some case, a lit review is just collating the previous research. So when we make a lit review for personal purpose, not to publish, we do care about, okay, well, not to publish, meaning if you don't publish, but we still need the integrity, right? So when we write something, we still need to cite. So the safest way is you just cite it, and or you put it in the bracket. And that's not just only to play safe, but it's also a way to give credit to the person that wrote it. And because when you write, every single word that they write is their effort, their sweat, their blood, and a lot of things that go into a piece of work. So it's the best way is to cite it, put it in a bracket. Even if you don't publish it, you put the source to it.
Yes, thank you, Miss Lin, for your very insightful and inspiring sharing. Yes,
Thank you.
so if you guys,
It's really,
if the
I know,
viewers, you
it's
have
really
any
hard to talk
question, feel
about
free
such a
to reach
big
out.
topic. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah, so we
Thank you,
ending.
Miss Lian.
Thank you so much,
I think Miss Lian
everyone.
connection.
Thank you. Thank you, Prani.
Yes. So I think we can wrap up this session, and hopefully that the students will have the inspiration to join more of our workshops in the following days.
Yeah. So if you have
Yes.
any question at all, or if you want to discuss with me a literature review or how to write it, I have written so many. So you can come and talk, and we can have a chat about that. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So goodbye, everyone, and hope you guys have a great afternoon.
Yeah.